This is this is tail lamb.
These little suckers lay. Yes, these motherfuckers lay. Fuck 'em. We don't want to talk about them. It's getting boring as fuck. These motherfuckers right here. Yes, these motherfuckers right here. Fuck 'em. We don't want to talk about them. It's getting boring as fuck. motherfuckers right here. Yes, these motherfuckers right here. Fuck 'em. We don't want to talk about them. It's getting boring as fuck.
Those donkey balls are bouncing all around. Bounce up, bounce up. Oh, stop the fire. Those donkey balls are bouncing all around. Those donkey balls are bouncing all
Sniffing, you can smell them. Those donkey balls are yelling, and they're swinging to the beat of a loser's song. Never turn your back, 'cause those donkey balls are bouncing on your dreams. Suck 'em, suck 'em. Those donkey balls are bouncing on your chin again. What a sin, we've got to grin again and again. Never turn your back, 'cause those donkey balls are bouncing on your dreams. Suck 'em, suck 'em. Those donkey balls are bouncing on your chin again. What a sin, we gotta grin again and again.
He would be so scared to see me.
Everybody thinks we was doing this shit, doxing motherfuckers. Nah, they came at us first.
I got a fire raging in my front yard.
Oh, why did you set your front yard on fire? Are you drinking anything?
Smacking off the podcast. Fuck your team, dog balls. You cause false authorities. Smacking off the podcast. Fuck your team, dog balls. You call them false authorities.
Smacking off the podcast.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Doug? Everybody, welcome back to Smacking Off the Podcast.
How's your weather?
Oh, it's done broke plumb foul. It's thunderstorming. My granddaughter is afraid to drive home work from her job at Dollar Tree. She sent me little messages here and there, but yeah, it could be worse. We could have tornadoes and stuff. There's been a whole lot of tornadoes and other cataclysmic events that's happened over the years, and we could be in a whole lot worse shape. Besides, I could float before I melt.
The gods are angry at Kentucky, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. We should be starting. We should be starting our own Cutter Bowley, our homegrown quarterback, instead of going to the transfer portal. So yes, they're absolutely mad as hell.
Lord have mercy.
How's everybody doing? Jason, what's going on, man?
Y'all got me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I was just making sure the audio was good. I'm actually off my headphones tonight. I got the earbuds to actually work, so I'm trying.
I heard you clear your throat a second ago, and or maybe a minute ago, and so I knew your audio was good, or I felt it. I thought it was you anyway.
You didn't hear me cuss losing an overtime shootout in NHL 25 where I said about 3 times.
And Ed's been testing his microphone since he came on.
Absolutely. Ed
And
wants to
Nikki,
be prepared.
what's going on, Nikki?
Not much. I'm drained.
All right, so is there sports
Well, if
to
you
talk
didn't
about?
have to work 185 hours a week, maybe you'd have a little more giddy up in your step there, Nick.
I hired 2 new people today, so just one more week and then I'm back to normal hours.
But your normal hours is like 90.
Yeah. I like working.
Okay. Speak for yourself.
So what's the sports going on right now?
The Knicks and the Pistons.
Leafs and Sens. Leafs and Sens going right now in Game 5. Toronto trying to take the series.
When does college bowling season start?
Yesterday.
Oh shit! Are you joking, Nikki?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Don't it run like 24/7 because it's so important?
I think so.
I think
It
so.
should.
Bowling
It should.
It should. That's
But
right.
how
I
about
agree with that.
Florida's lacrosse team won the Big 12 championship?
Good.
Does anybody want to guess what sport has more gambling activity than any other sport? Not in terms of money, but in terms of the number of bets over the course of a year.
Pickleball.
No.
Oh.
Ping pong.
Close.
Tennis.
Yep, because there's always tennis being played.
Oh.
Listen, I have some friends that are total degenerates, and they will throw money down on some Far East ping pong in a nanosecond. It is wild.
Yeah,
Damn.
And even though there's golf all the time, the reason there's more tennis betting is because people do a ton of live betting on who's going to win the set, the match, the next point, the game. It's crazy.
I quit betting on ping pong when Forrest Gump retired.
Damn, guys, you just gave me an idea for the greatest show of all time. the greatest sport and show of all time. And what that would be is I would have a TV channel would have live craps going on 24/7, right? And it'd be like a craps world championship periodically. You know, I'd run it kind of like the WWF where guys could come up and talk shit about their game and so forth. So I would run craps 24/7. And it looks like Mr. Sean Devine is joining us. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing well. How are we doing, everyone?
All right.
We're gonna start our own craps network.
Are you feeling a little more optimistic about the Raiders, Sean? I mean, I think things are about to get better for you.
I think they'll be better, but it's not going to be this year. I mean, it's a slow work in progress, but eventually. I mean, the back half of the draft I thought was better than the first half.
At the top of the ledge.
I mean, I think it's always risky to take a running back as high as they did, but he's a good one.
Yeah, I just philosophically, I don't like taking a running back in the first round unless it's an absolute Hall of Fame running back like an Adrian Peterson, Eric Dickerson, things of that nature.
You should have got Shador.
Oh yeah, now Doug, isn't that the elephant hanging in the room? Is the whole Shador Sanders drama?
Lord have mercy.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, Doug Phillips.
So, I keep seeing stuff about this. I haven't looked into it. I mean, Timothy Bailey had a little rant about it in his group that the NFL totally fucked up, and he should have went. I guess, are they insinuating he should have went in the first round?
Well, yeah, much higher than the 5th round.
Right. So
I don't know.
I don't think political messages are going on in the NFL. I think if nobody took them by the 5th round, I think that there was a reason for it, and it wasn't political.
Well, they're coming out.
I'm hearing lots of stories that his interviews were bad.
He brought an entourage of 33 people with him.
To the interview?
To his interview.
Yeah, that's not good.
He had headphones on, blaring music. He didn't know how to answer the questions. And the only question that he answered was like, what can you do for our city? And he says, become the next mayor, and walked out.
Goodness. Now,
if you screw up and draft a quarterback who ends up as a knucklehead, you lose your job.
Well, or you set the franchise back about 5 to 10 years too.
Yeah, and
but you lose your job, and that's what they're thinking.
Well, it was the owners that told these guys to take him off their boards. They weren't taking a chance on in their eyes, like they said, an unproven quarterback. Like he had Hunter, he doesn't have Hunter anymore to pull him out. He doesn't know how to read the defense. He holds onto the ball too long, and he didn't beat anyone that was worth anything.
Now, one of the things I find interesting about it is the aspect of, they said there might be collusion or whatever. And, I've heard about the interviews and different, lots of people have come out on that. There's been some serious reporting on it, but there's been a lot of anonymous sources. But what I have seen is a video of him basically saying before the draft that there were certain teams that he wouldn't play for, and that he was going to come in and he was going to make the culture change and so forth. And I really don't know if organizations want that kind of circus coming in, let alone with the kind of interviews Nikki and Ed has described, right? And they don't want a guy to come in and come in with that much drama. I mean, it's just kind of even at once you get past the first round into the first couple picks in the second round, you're basically a backup quarterback. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers the Tim Tebow drama, right? When he was the backup quarterback, they spend all the time in his locker when they should be in the rest of the team's locker because all he is the backup quarterback, right? So that's also a distraction.
Yeah, like Tom Brady.
Yeah. Well, Tom Brady, the difference is Tom Brady didn't have any attention, right? Until he shows up all of a sudden after Drew Bledsoe was hurt. So I'm
not happy that
being the most handsome guy in the world has its perks.
Oh, it's tough, man. I'm telling you.
I just think it's sad that they took away
So I know
Cam
Sean.
Ward's
I heard
moment.
Sean's take on this whole thing.
My take, it's just one. You only have so many teams that are really in the running for a quarterback. There's a lot of teams that already have a quarterback that they don't need a quarterback. So why would you waste a draft pick on a quarterback when you have other needs? You know, and I think they probably evaluated and said we could get this guy later in the draft for less, you know. So that's another thing, you know.
And he wouldn't throw at the combine.
Yeah, he didn't do much at the combine. I don't know what he did at his pro day, but I mean, clearly, GMs and scouts and coaches were not that impressed if he fell to the 5th round. So,
And I just think it's sad they took away Cam Ward's moment. They took away Hunter, Travis Hunter's moment, because even when they were being drafted, they were still talking about Sanders. Everything went back to him. We only got to see a little bit of Cam Ward because they went live into Shador Sanders, party. Come on.
The Cam Ward story is huge. I mean, he come from a small parochial school to Washington State and then to Miami, and now he's the number 1 pick in the draft. If we didn't have this Sanders distraction, right, we'd be talking about this great story. And if Cam Ward actually wins something in the NFL, I mean, hell, it's a rags to riches story,
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing about all of this from the perspective in the Nashville market, listening to like the local media, and everybody was talking about this. Before this draft started, there was not a lot of optimism with the Titans. They were thinking, okay, one or two things are going to happen. They're either going to trade the first pick overall and hopefully get a king's ransom for it, or they were going to take the chance on Cam Ward. And the track history with the Titans and the organization is that they don't really do a good job in putting you in the best position of success. But I think the whole Shador Sanders saga, I guess that you could call it, which I'm going to get into here in a minute. I'm going to need y'all to kind of spread out on the court and let me ISO while I, drivel on some fools and take it to the hoop. But we'll get to that here in just a second. But I think that it benefited Cam Ward a lot more because there have been people, including myself, who have seen the back and forths during like workouts and stuff like that between Cam Ward and Shador Sanders, the back and forths, which they are fantastic, which is why I was hoping both of them would have success in the NFL because it would lead to a great generational rivalry to be determined. But I think like all of the attention on Shador was a much more beneficial for Cam Ward because if you see if you've seen videos of how he presents himself, and in my circles, the people I've talked to who have had like eyewitness view of just how he conducts himself, the Tennessee Titans may have hit a home run with this draft pick and Cam Ward because you think about it, the guy went into Incarnate Word and he was a no star, nobody. Went to Incarnate Word, took over that locker room. Went to Washington State, took over that locker room. Went to Miami in player-led workouts, and in 72 hours, he has that entire locker room by the throat. And that's what the Tennessee Titans need right now, is they need somebody on the offensive side that is going to be willing to take command of the offense, and they're going to – I don't care if you're 30 years old, 10 years in the league, and you look like you drive a UPS truck with a family, live with a house in a cul-de-sac. He's going to dog cuss you out if you get it wrong. Oh. And that's what the Titans need. So that goes through my whole thing about the Shador Sanders. And listen, I did a report in college on the JFK assassination, including the whole conspiracy theory of the second shooter, the grassy knoll, so on and so forth. So this was like almost going back to my college paper again, which I think I actually got a B- on it or something like that. It was a passing grade, so it was good enough for me. But like going through this whole saga, has almost been like you've been going through the files, you've been watching the Zapruder film back and to the left, back and to the left. If you get that movie reference, it's time for your colonoscopy. But the thing about it is, and I've talked to numerous people in different circles about this, and there's a lot of theories out there that are absolutely plausible. The whole thing about sending a now, the media, the media, and even in some cases, the NFL don't do themselves favors. Like, everybody remembers how Lamar Jackson was getting crushed. Why, I don't know. Like, talking about, like, well, if he's going to be have success in the NFL, the guy he's got to convert to running back, which I thought was complete bullshit. And some of that slid him down into the late round where Baltimore had to trade up and get him. It's worked out okay for them. And I understand also why they do it, because there's gamesmanship involved. This is a pet peeve of mine. I absolutely hate it. I understand why they do it, but I hate it. When you're quoting anonymous sources in a story, people who don't have the guts to go out and say this on the record. Because anybody with anonymous sources, it's basically like a Twitter burner account going out and tweeting Kirby Smart's having Kirby Smart's having an affair, and this anonymous source said this. It's basically the same thing to me.
But the Giants assistant coach came out without being an anonymous source today.
But leading up to it, there was all this anonymous sources. Now, Boomer Esiason, he kept the anonymity, which I understood, but he said that he found, and I always have a rule of 3 when it comes to a story. If I have 3 sources that confirm the same thing, then it probably happened. It probably happened, and it's probably newsworthy, and you can go live with it. So that's what I've always been taught.
Let me get this straight. What you're saying is that Deion Sanders was the shooter on the grassy knoll?
I'm getting to that here. I'm getting to that here in just a second. Okay. My ADHD is kicking in. I'm going on a tangent. I just wanted to get that out there. But Boomer Esiason quoted three general managers or three employees of three organizations that said, owners said to take this guy off the board. Now we go, okay, why? Now I'm not going to be. You're going to have haters. You're going to have haters that are going to hate Deion, and they're going to hate the Sanders family, no matter what they do. Like, even if Shador found the cure for cancer, they're going to hate the guy. So they're going to say that he was a trash quarterback. I am not in that realm. I think that he was a good quarterback. I think that there was first round potential. But here's what Deion's camp did. They overplayed their hand, and they made a gross miscalculation. Now, what am I saying? You look at, and Sean mentioned it earlier, that this was not the best quarterback class that there was. There was not a lot of demand for quarterback, not for a franchise quarterback. If you were going to go for your franchise quarterback, I almost kind of felt like it was just Cam Ward or wait till next year. Or for the Steelers instance, they're going to sign Aaron Rodgers or trade for Kirk Cousins. The Raiders, I have no damn clue what they're going to do. Maybe they're sharting for Arch. I don't know what they're doing. That could be it. But the thing about it is those quarterbacks, and 5 of them at most, you go Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns, New York Giants, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those were the 5. 3 of them may have been looking for their franchise quarterback. Shador Sanders could have been maybe that second one if he would have actually sold them on it. Because I feel like Shador was not – the difference between Cam Ward and Shador Sanders in this draft is that Cam Ward was selling himself as a quarterback to a franchise. It felt like to me, after everything that I have dug through, that Shador Sanders was trying to sell a brand that was going to be involved with the franchise. Like this whole the legendary stuff and the t-shirt, the lavish party and everything like that to market yourself. I get it. Dion's a marketing genius. But the thing about it is nobody, and this is also where I think they painted themselves in the corner, because nobody's going to buy a legendary t-shirt for somebody who is second or third string on an NFL team. They're coming in with the expectation that this guy is going to start. So you're thinking maybe in that NFL front office is like, okay, he's putting it outside. He's branding himself. This guy wants to be a franchise quarterback. Let's see what he can do. But he didn't throw at the combine. The interviews were obviously terrible, according to some reports. And they took a look at this and like, and the other question is, do they expect Shedeur Sanders to be able to carry a franchise like the Titans or like the Browns or like the Raiders or the Giants? Or is he going to be able to carry that franchise without daddy being close by? And from the looks of it, they weren't convinced that he would be able to. And that's another thing I think with Shedeur Sanders. This will be the first time that basically he's going to go out and have to prove it on his own. So there's a lot of that where, okay, he goes down to the 5th round. He's still there. Cleveland just said, okay, we'll take a chance on it. Now he has a chance to prove that maybe he is that guy. And if the circus comes to town, they can cut him and they're not going to be losing their shirt over it. You can spin this in as many ways as possible, and everybody in media has. But it came down to the simple conclusion, or the simple question: are you capable of leading our franchise that is in desperate need of a franchise quarterback for the next couple of years to come? Tennessee was very confident in Cam Ward, and that's why they went with him. Giants were confident in Cam Ward enough that they were offering a king's ransom to the Titans to try to get him. Tennessee said, nah, we're good. We're going to take Cam Ward. And the Giants just went to plan B and got Jackson Dart at a value. So in the case of the Shedeur camp did this to themselves. No collusion, no nothing or anything, no FU to Dion or anything like that. It just came down to you overplayed your hand, you made a gross miscalculation, and it bit you in the ass. Simple as that.
But I also think you hit one spot that, honestly, how many of these teams want Deion Sanders down their throat? This is a dad that was making lists. My kids won't play for these teams. Don't even draft them. Okay, the number one on the list was Cleveland. How many times they called these organizations about his son? They've already come out and said that he was already pushing for certain teams to pick him in the 1st round. They don't want Deion involved in a grown man. He's grown. Right. He's got to take care of himself now.
And it goes back to the whole thing. For a franchise in desperate need of a franchise quarterback, they got to make sure that this guy can do it without dad being around. And that kind of lumps into what you just said. It kind of lumps into the whole gross miscalculation by Deion's camp in all of this.
Yeah, I think he just screwed himself. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that Vince screwed Brett, but Brett screwed Brett. If you remember the reference from the Montreal Screwjob in 1997. There's my wrestling reference, by the way.
We got a wrestling reference. And, so there's aspects to it like that. Now, as far as collusion goes, I don't believe that the NFL works quite like sports writers thinks it does. I think that there's an element of, a GM or somebody, offensive coordinator, somebody on those teams talking to other teams like, did y'all talk to this guy? What was he like? Oh, I don't know, man. This dude was a trip. You see what I'm saying? So I don't believe that they're sitting down and having a diabolical meeting, right? Like, some kind of old Marvel movie or something like that in Hydra. I think that there's just guys talk to each other in the league. They know each other. It's really kind of a close franchise. There's only so many people in the world that's actually played in the NFL, coached in the NFL, and they have connections, kind of like Black Sabbath's musical tree. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to ask each other, "What was that guy like?" And they said, "Man, I thought the dude was an asshole." You know, so there's elements to that. Now, do you think that is something that could influence teams, Sean?
It certainly could. Yeah. I mean, to me, this whole thing it will stand or fall with how well Sanders actually performs and plays on the field, and if he plays great, there'll be a lot of teams that wish they had drafted him.
Well, the thing here is nobody mentions this, but the way that at least Shador has handled all of this himself has actually been pretty good, and nobody's really talking about that. Everybody's kind of more focused on the Dion camp, the evil NFL owners, and even Joy Taylor came out today and was talking about. I don't even think quarterback evaluators even know what they're doing, which I think in some instances could be valid.
Sure.
There are some people who don't know how to evaluate a quarterback, and they have NFL.
Was Mel Kiper right about that? So not to interrupt you, but Mel Kiper had an epic rant during the draft. Now, can I say how I feel about Mel Kiper? And I'd love all y'all to chime in. I don't believe that Mel Kiper knows one bit more about the NFL or who can play or can't play than I do, or you. Now, do I believe that he gets closer to the situation and that he gets a lot of information? But maybe. But I don't know how big of a call. But all I got to do is go by the results. So Mel Kiper is bullshit. That's my opinion.
Look at his track record. But on the collusion, can we honestly open our eyes to the fact that how many of these owners are honestly going to listen to another owner thinking that they're bullshitting them because they want that player? So
there's games.
How many times are you going to hear, "Oh, he wasn't worth our time. I didn't want him because of this." This has happened probably numerous times, and that's why someone traded up to get someone, because this one acted like he didn't want him, but I believe he did. I don't think the collusion has anything to do with this.
You could kind of say that with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was kind of the same way. There's a little gamesmanship, and Baltimore was able to get him at a bargain.
Mm-hmm.
There's still an element of the American dream in this, guys, and I'm going to go to you at this, Ed. So he's on the team for the moment. He's the 5th round pick. There's 3 to 4 other guys going to be in the quarterback room by the time the camp starts. Right? He can fulfill his American dream and outwork those guys and outplay those guys. And does he have a chance to do that, Ed?
Yeah, a chance.
So that's what it's all about.
I think he can win that quarterback room. I think he could be their starter come game 1, personally, if he puts all that effort into his game and not off the field. He can't continue being entitled, expecting to get the starting position because it was always handed to him. He now has to fight for it and prove to this team that he deserves to be their number 1 quarterback.
He's got to put the brand aside for now. Because if he's not a starting quarterback, the brand doesn't mean anything. If he's a starting back, now they're saying that the Shador Sanders Cleveland Browns jerseys are selling pretty well right now in the NFL shop. So Cleveland's getting a little bit of money out of it. But he's got to put his legendary brand aside. And before you can be legendary, you've got to be the guy.
Well,
you have to be the guy, because nobody's going to buy Nobody says legendary and they see a 2nd or 3rd string quarterback in the NFL. Nobody's going to buy that T-shirt.
And
Nobody is going to buy that T-shirt.
The best part about his brand is 3 or 4 years down the road, he has a chance to actually be legendary if he can turn Cleveland around and be that quarterback that they've been wanting.
And he's got the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Cleveland has now took that risk with a little bit of a lesser price tag. So really, in a way, this worked out for him if he turns around and proves everybody wrong. And I'll tell you this right now. I hope he does.
Now, there's another aspect to this, Jason, that you guys, I wonder if your guys that you work with have talked about. And the aspect is because Shadur Sanders wasn't drafted until the third day, there was probably more ratings and interest for the second and third day than there would have been otherwise.
Oh,
So they probably had a
I'll,
ratings.
I'll tell you this: it is the first time that I have watched all 3 days of the NFL draft, probably since 2007. So
That was a
yeah,
good draft, by the way.
2000.
It,
It was, and because like back in the day, I used to be a draft nerd, so I would watch throughout the weekend the NFL draft until I got a life and had a busy job in radio, and I couldn't really do it as much as I used to, because usually I would watch the first round, which was on national television, and then after that I'm like, okay, I can just look and see what the Falcons did or who got drafted where, when, and there. The Shador Sanders saga kind of kept me hooked. Now, I'm not going to lie. After Shador got drafted, I did hang around a little bit longer because I was interested to see maybe where a Quinn Ewers or Will Howard got
Yeah.
drafted, because I was kind of curious. I was like, will these guys get drafted? Because the thing about it is like with Jalen Milroe going to the third round, and it's a head scratcher for some people. But the thing about it is like he's not a bad project for Seattle. He's not. He's not a bad project because the athletic ability is there with Jalen Milroe. Even in college, he's been Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde when it comes to some of the just absolute bonehead decisions that he makes. But the athleticism was there, and Seattle saw it. And also, too, I was happy for him because of all the crap that he was getting at Alabama. That he's got a chance to at least somewhat redeem himself in the pros, or he has an opportunity at the pros without that hanging over his head. So I was happy for him because I mean he's a good kid, he's a hard worker, and I think most fans, especially like working class fans, they can respect that. I mean, even with his flaws, they can respect that. And I think that's the one thing you like about Cam Ward is yes. And here's the funny thing. I'll get back to Cam Ward. When I saw a video and I saw a quote after he got picked, when Steve McNair got brought up, which he acknowledged Steve McNair, but he said something to the and I'm going to screw this quote up probably, but he said something to the instance of, "I don't look up to no one. I want everyone to look up to me." Mm-hmm. And there were people out there was going like, "Well, the Titans are cooked," and "Oh, what arrogance!" And I'm sitting here going,
"What you want?"
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Listen, he acknowledged Steve McNair. He acknowledged what he did for the Houston Oilers and Tennessee Titans franchise, but he's basically telling you, and this is probably what won the Titans over, is that I want to be the greatest of all time. Yeah. Shador over here wants to be legendary. Cam Ward's over here talking about being the greatest of all time. Now, will that come to fruition? Time will tell. But if you got a guy that knows that that's what he is striving to be, rather than going out and getting these clicks on TikTok and stuff like that, that this guy, the whole thing about Shador drinking Gatorade, mentions, well, Gatorade pays me, and Cam Ward says football pays me. Yep. That's what you want.
Well,
especially with
I just love how he came out.
If you're going back to Milroe, though, if you're going back to Milroe, I don't think Sam Darnold's going to be in Seattle that long because he doesn't have the weapons he had in Minnesota.
Well, he got his bag. He had that one good season and got his bag. I can't be mad at him for that.
No.
Yeah.
But with Cam, I loved the way that he came out. He wasn't flashy. He wore a nice suit, nice shoes, a Miami pin. He didn't need the diamonds and the Prada and the Louis Vuitton. He was just him. And like he said, I proved myself on the field. I don't have to prove anything off the field.
Well, the thing about it is,
I'm here for one reason.
The thing about it is, like, all the jewelry, the flash, the suits, and everything like that, that doesn't bother me. I mean, because
I loved seeing that for once. It's been forever since we've seen just a down to earth. I'm here for one reason. You call my name, I'm putting my hat on, and then it's time to get to business. I'm not worried about blowing all this money or having it loaned to me before I even make that check. I'm going to make that check, and then I
I
can have
do.
what I want.
I do remember somebody, I did ask him the question. It's like, what's the first thing you're going to buy now? And he said more dog food.
Yeah.
So,
And I love
I mean,
listening to what they asked him. They were talking about why the teams, not just the Titans, but multiple teams fell in love with him. Because in his interview, they're like, what do you do on the side, like off the field? He's like, well, I hang out with my dogs and I go bowling. And I just I'm a homebody. I watch film and I'm pretty much just with my animals all the time. That's it. But I love to bowl. Okay, so
yeah. And the,
you don't
well, I
get a
just
lot of
lost my
that
train of
these
thought.
days.
No, you don't. And you know, there's a difference between confidence and perceived arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a confidence in Cam Ward. And I think that the tide has turned with a lot of Titans fans now. Because now they kind of feel like, okay, this guy might do something. But there's one thing that I worry about. The one thing that I do worry about, no matter how talented you are, no matter how hardworking you are, no matter the work ethic, so on and so forth, the only thing that's going to stop Cam Ward from being successful at Tennessee is going to be Tennessee's front office. That's going to be the only thing that's going to stop him, because we've seen throughout history, we see a talented guy that comes in to an organization and he never ever he never blossoms. He never blossoms. You can take it to maybe a really crappy job that you had in your past where you come in, you know that you have the talent, you know that you have the work ethic, but the brass are holding you back or putting you in a situation to where you can't succeed. That is the only thing that is going to stop Cam Ward from being successful at Tennessee.
So
Now,
kind
who
of like
won
every
the bid?
quarterback that went to Cleveland and they leave Cleveland and they're able to succeed somewhere else. Right, that says it right there.
I mean,
think that's true.
Baker Mayfield Baker Mayfield has had a respectable career.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's the only one I can think of off the bad Browns quarterback jersey that's actually gone somewhere else
Yeah.
and done anything.
I mean, it hasn't been lights out, but it's been serviceable, and it goes to a whole other thing. You can be a good quarterback in college, but it's not always going to translate to the NFL. Baker Mayfield was a Heisman Trophy winner, and he's been, you could say, an average quarterback in the NFL. Pat Mahomes was a 3-star recruit out of high school and was at Texas Tech, and not many people knew him and laughed when he got picked in the top 10 by the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, they're not laughing anymore because Bears fans are probably traumatized because they're like, oh crap, we could have got him.
But you know, wait
Right,
a minute. Baker was legitimately hurt his last year in Cleveland, and they kicked him to the curb. I mean, that was kind of stupid.
Well, I mean,
that's the Cleveland Browns for you.
I mean, come on, they took Dylan Gabriel and then turn around and take Shador Sanders. Like, Browns are going to Brown.
Well, you know, there was a year where in the same draft, the Washington organization drafted both Kirk Cousins and RG3. So in the same draft. So,
but they needed quarterbacks. They already had 3 in their room in Cleveland.
Well, one of them's 40-year-old Joe Flacco, who's on his last legs. So,
and
he's going to
Sean Watson's not going to play this year.
And Deshaun Watson still got to massage some things out.
Yeah, he's out for the whole season.
You got that one.
Yep.
See what I did there? Thank you.
He's going to get that pain worked out, brother. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it right.
Peach, and he picked it.
Just stay away from the happy endings, bud. Stay away from the happy endings.
Well, he's engaged now, so maybe he will.
But I thought it was just a very kind of a ho hum other than the Sanders situation, a ho hum chalk kind of draft teams. They said they need this position here in this round, and that's kind of what they went ahead and did. I didn't think a lot of teams got crazy.
Well, it's like you said, it was the meat and potatoes draft.
Very, very meat. Other than Jacksonville giving up a king's ransom to go up and get Hunter, which,
Oh God, I love that kid.
good for the Browns on getting all that stuff, because the Browns are not in a win now situation. They need to be building for 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and good for Jacksonville bringing. I think he's from that area, isn't he? Jacksonville area. Good on them, because they need some excitement there, especially with the stadium being under renovation and whatnot. So
he's so much fun.
Yeah,
on and off the
I love
field.
Travis Hunter. He's exciting.
Here's the thing.
I love watching him.
Here's the thing about Travis Hunter going to the Jags. You went out and you've drafted Trevor Lawrence in the past. So Trevor Etienne. So you've got weapons in order to compete. If Shad Khan screws up Travis Hunter with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he needs to sell that team. Like, if he screws this up, he's got to sell it, because you're never going to get it right if you can't get Travis Hunter right.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people have been saying this. I'll go out there and say it, that you need to just give it up as an owner if you get Travis Hunter and you can't find a way to make it work.
Don't they usually trade away their good players? That seems to be their modus operandi in the near recent history. If you go back 15, 20 years, that was a different story. But yeah, they can't screw this up. You got a decent enough quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and now you have Travis Hunter, who's extremely talented, and maybe we'll see him on both sides of the ball. I think that would be great. But yeah, I mean, if they screw up, that's bad luck for Shad Khan.
But what's wild is that you had, I know, Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coach. You can take with that information what you want, but they had Doug Peterson in Jacksonville, and it couldn't work.
Nope.
And it just boggles the mind, because it wasn't like the John Madden Raiders team of rejects that nobody wanted that went out and won a Super Bowl. You're talking about there were serviceable players that are on that team. And you had Doug Peterson coming in, who was able to win a Super Bowl with Nick freaking Foles. Nick freaking Foles, guys.
Well, it was just weird because they came out so hot with him. Like, he comes in there after Urban, and they came out hot, and you're like, hell yeah. They actually have found the right direction, and then they just fizzled out.
They had a comeback win over the Chargers in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. It's like,
now it went back to doo-doo again.
So we'll see what lovely Leary can do.
So if you ask me, I'll tell you who I think won the draft, even though they didn't really get anybody high up in the draft, or very early, I should say, was the Eagles. So the Eagles has dealt a few players away here and there, and had a decent draft last year. And even though they got the first two players they got, the safety from Texas, and then the linebacker from Alabama. Both those were great picks. Going to fill in holes with them, and I don't know, guys. As far as the NFL goes, to me, it looks like the Eagles, if they keep drafting well, they might be a near dynastical team.
They could.
I'll say this: the Falcons cooked. I was very, very surprised. I was pleasantly surprised at the Atlanta Falcons' performance in this draft.
They did awesome.
But what worries me is that Carolina didn't do too bad either, and the Saints didn't do too bad either, and the Bucs didn't do too bad either. So it's like, oh boy.
And the Bucs pulled in my Watson as an undrafted free agent.
They also picked up Shiloh too, Shiloh Sanders.
Yep. They
Yeah, I
did.
think
I
the
like Shiloh. I do like him. And
I
I
think
love that. I think one reason I like him so much is watching him. He didn't need the spotlight on him. Like, even when, Shador was finally drafted, he was the one up there dancing with him. It was just them two. He was his brother's biggest hype man. And now it's kind of his turn to show people I can. And I like him.
So it's like Flavor Flav going solo, Nikki.
Yeah, it is.
I agree with I think the NFC South is going to be an exciting division here for the next few years with the influx of talent. I thought all the teams in that division had a very good draft. I liked the Bears draft. I thought the Bears did a very nice job of acquiring talent as well as acquiring picks by trading back as well. So I think the Bears could be on the upswing in the NFC North. The team I actually surprisingly they normally draft well, and I was kind of surprised. I didn't think they had a great draft. Was the Green Bay Packers? I didn't quite understand some of their picks.
The receiver's good.
Yeah, they got the receiver out of Texas.
Bolden.
He's very good, but the rest of that, I just didn't quite understand what they were doing. They needed, to me, to address defense more when you have the Vikings and the Lions in the division and an improving Bears team. And potentially even getting a backup for Jordan Love, who last season was somewhat injury prone.
I was happy with my Cowboys. We kind of went the safe route, but we filled the positions that were needed early on, long-term investments, and then brought in some more fun players that produced in college.
A B plus, nothing that knocked your socks off, but just good solid decisions there by Jerry and his son Steven. So
Yeah,
typical
Jerry
good
did not
Cowboy
go
draft.
for the glory hole.
No, and I really thought, and if Shador didn't get drafted when he did, I really thought he was going to end up pulling him. I think Jerry would have ended up taking Sanders just because of that.
I think if you dropped to the sixth,
historically-
I think if you dropped to the 6th round, you're right, Jerry.
I do.
Yeah.
But the Cowboys have historically drafted well. It's what they do after the draft that's all fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, we don't
not
draft
for a lack
well.
of talent.
No,
Big
don't
D.
even. We don't draft well. Don't play that game. It's other than like 3 of the last probably 10 years, I can say that we actually had good early round picks. Other than that, he's literally was just pulling shit out of his ass.
Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb aren't bad picks.
That's what I'm saying. I can name like 3 years, and 2 of those are Parsons and CD.
Yeah, but those guys
Zeke
are
in his prime was a good player.
Oh,
What's that, Ed?
and you got a Gator.
Lamb and Parsons are superstars. They're not just a couple of guys.
I'm saying out of the last 10 years, those are the 2 of the 3 I can say that he didn't pull shit out of his ass. He got the
Avoiding
right
Johnny
players.
Manziel and taking Zach Martin, who's likely going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, also a great move by Jerry.
And we got a Gator this year. I've waited a long time. He brought in Shamar, so I'm happy about that.
He's got to stop
So I have
the
3
brotherly
Gators.
shove.
Yeah, we got 3 Gators now. Ballard, Elam, and Shamar. So
Yeah, I thought the Cowboys did very, very well for what they needed to fill. And again, for them, it goes back to, can Dak Prescott execute when the chips are down in the playoffs? That's the story of the Cowboys of the last few years.
And he can stay healthy. And I really thought he was going to draft a quarterback for that long-term backup. I can't say long-term because we know he's accident prone.
What you got there, leave it alone.
So
Come here, Tater.
And
Yeah,
didn't
dog
Cooper
attack
Rush
is
go
coming.
somewhere else?
Huh?
Did Cooper Rush go somewhere else?
Yeah, he's gone. Will Greer's gone. Like, I don't even know. We pulled in, I think, one. Lance is gone.
Will Greer's no good, but Cooper Rush is a very solid backup.
Oh, I liked Will Greer. As a backup, I liked Will.
You can like him, not that good.
So Joe Milton III is your backup right now, and I actually kind of like that
Yeah.
pickup.
We'll see. As long as he can handle his ball, that's his issue. Is him
Joe
the way he
Milton's
throws.
got more than enough talent to come in spot duty and play well. It's when he's playing every down that you can have problems with him.
He's got a cannon for an arm too.
That's been his issue.
A big cannon.
Yeah.
He'll probably be like, if you ask me, we were talking about the 50-50 the other day, and he'll probably be like, I think he'll be like Jared. He'll have a huge, big guy. I mean, obviously he's not as big as Jared was, but he'll be a strong guy. It'll be hard to bring down. And he's got a big arm, and he's willing to take big chances. Now, sometimes that don't work, and it'll run you out of the league quick. But there's some of the guys that took big chances had big results, such as Brett Favre. Now, I don't know that he'll have as great a career as Brett Favre, but he's the kind of guy that can pull. Probably not, but he'll be able to keep ball as well as anybody if he learns precision placement, a little bit of patience. I mean, it'll be crazy. But I do love to get the.
Don't be surprised if the Cowboys have a couple packages for Milton this year.
Oh, yeah. And they have to be happy with him because we had quite a few quarterbacks on the draft board up until probably 4 weeks ago. So they definitely are happy with what he's doing. He's been at the camp nonstop, working out with different players. So I think they're happy with him.
So he's not a bum.
Mm-mm. Oh.
She goes, ooh.
They're a
So-
beetle.
A beetle. Hell yeah, that's like Jim Worthington at the Hollywood Bowl. If any of you guys ever seen that, and he's trying to sing, and he goes, and he kind of pauses for a second, and the song's going. He goes, "Oh, a butterfly," and then years later, Eddie Vedder copied him on Saturday Night Live and did the same exact thing.
I
And
just
they,
have a dang beetle fly in my hair, a massive one.
I still so guys, my way I feel about the draft is pretty much the same as Sean, from the aspect that most of the teams went chalk and tried and pretty much got what they needed. I think that some GMs did better than others, and but I don't know that the draft is going to pull any individual team out of the fire. But in terms of the Raiders, I believe the Raiders is their draft was foundational, and they're trying to build on something like Sean's saying. And I don't think that Coach Carroll would have come back thinking he's a loser. He's got to have some kind of media impact, and if he's building for next year to see what he'll have, surely that even though he's only got so much time to turn around, he's an old guy, and how much energy does he have? But he's certainly a proven winner, if you ask me. I mean, he's a championship level coach. I don't think that they drafted lightly. I think they drafted with the eye of the future.
I do too. I think he's coming back to prove he still has it.
Yeah, as a Raider fan, I just like the simple fact that it looked like a professional organization in a competent draft. You know, it wasn't sort of by the seat of your pants crapshoot that it seems to have been over the last 5 or 6 years. So just sort of understanding what they were doing and making quality adds to the depth, which depth for the Vegas Raiders was a huge problem. So no, I'm not overly upset, but I was hoping for a little more. But I'm not upset after seeing what they got in the back half of the draft. I like it, but to Bob's point, yeah, I mean Pete's no spring chicken, so hopefully next year's draft and free agency really can get us closer to where we want to be.
Who is y'all's backup behind Geno?
Still Aiden O'Connell from Purdue.
Okay.
So, guys, the party time of the year is coming, right? I mean, the Kentucky Oaks is Friday, which is a big warm up for the Derby, and then you got a whole week of partying going on in the Derby. And I suggest y'all get live wherever y'all's at, and on the show next Tuesday, I guess we can see what the prospects are for the Derby. And every now and then, a filly will come out of
No, Bob, we got to talk about it tonight. The Derby's Saturday.
oh, the Derby Saturday. That's right, Derby Saturday. That's how time flies. I don't know why.
First Saturday in May. Come on, Bob.
Everyone get your mint juleps ready.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's pretty damn promotions, guys. Y'all know that get your bit juleps ready and get your money ready and have your $2 bet so you can win the trifecta and buy everybody drinks. You know.
Hey, so I don't know if anybody knows about this, but I found out too late. You can buy a master's concession package and have it delivered to your house.
I do it every year.
Missed a little, missed a lot. Me and Nikki were talking about that.
I do it every year. I have to have my egg salad and pimento cheese.
Pimento cheese?
Wow.
Yes. I have to. And it tastes
Well, I
just
do
as
know
good.
that El Paso is the closest major airport to Las Cruces, so I'll be showing up at Nikki's house eventually.
Well, I'm in Texas now. I'm in
What?
Stephenville, Texas. I'm right outside of Dallas, Fort Worth.
You moved?
Get a pimento cheese and an egg salad. And
I've been here
Palmer.
I love pimento cheese, especially pimento cheese and ham sandwich ham salad sandwich together. It's yumminess.
I did like the Marty Smith cheat code where he was down there, covering the tournament, and he bought an egg salad sandwich, he bought a pimento cheese, he pulled them apart and he put one with one and one with the so you had a mixed egg salad and pimento cheese sandwich at the same time. I go, that
you gotta like Marty.
I'm gonna have to try that
that's
next year.
level. I wish I had thought of that when I was.
Me too.
I would say Marty Smith, out of all the people I've met, and I met him at SEC Media Days one year, one of the most down to earth dudes you'll ever meet.
He seems like a great guy.
He does. He really does.
Oh yeah.
I asked him, and we probably had like 10 minutes with him, and I was expecting him and Ryan McGee just to go like 2 minutes on NASCAR. I just asked him a NASCAR question right out of the gate, and the guy went like 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh. And my co-host looked at me like, "You motherfucker!" And I didn't know he was going to go that long, but down to earth guy, one of the best people I've ever met.
How y'all feeling about the NHL playoffs?
Well, the Leafs just couldn't do it tonight again.
Damn.
Which that's now since the Predators are not in the playoffs, that was my first team that I rooted for. Which y'all already know the story of why I started out as a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, because of the White Trash Satellite and Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. But yeah, I even wore the jersey to work today. Like I even wore it, and they lost 4-0 tonight.
Oh shit!
So it's now
What's that series? What is it?
3-2, 3-2 Toronto.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, Toronto currently has the longest drought for a cup. Correct? Is that 1967? I think.
Well, there's some teams that have never won a cup.
Yeah, but I don't like expansion teams that are like 5 minutes old. I don't really count.
No, if you're talking about the original six, that's absolutely correct.
Like the Carolina Hurricanes, I know they've won a cup, but like I still barely acknowledge their existence. I remember when they were the Hartford Whalers.
You're correct.
They're still fighting to bring them back, bring a team to Hartford.
Yeah, you're correct, Sean. It was 1967. I just had to confirm it because, when you get older, your brain just.
Jason, I hope your Leafs can get it done. I'm pseudo rooting for them and the other Canadian teams.
Hey, I'll tell you this: if the Nashville Predators win a cup before the Leafs, I'll be happy.
Good.
Because my Leafs fandom kind of went away for a while in 1998 when Nashville came out. Because I'm like, oh my God, 90 minutes away, there's an NHL team. Oh my God, instead of like like a 13-hour drive all the way out of the country.
Now,
But
Jason, you had the Augusta Lynx for a while.
I did, and in North Alabama, I had
That 13 hours would put you right in Washington, D.C., by the way.
well, okay, well, how much is a flight to Toronto? Never mind. But
Oh, Augusta's coming back. They're building a new stadium. They got a hockey team coming in.
Georgia?
Are they going to
Are
play? Are they going to play in the SPHL with the Huntsville Havoc?
I don't know. I'm hearing back to the ECHL.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Even
That's
better.
what the Thoroughblades were in. The Lexington Thoroughblades were in the ECHL.
Yep.
I went
And
to a
then they're
couple of
supposed to go back to that because they still had a contract with them when they had to quit playing because the ice wouldn't stay ice in the arena.
Wichita Thunder also in the ECHL. I covered them for a little bit.
Hell yeah. That's exciting and new. And guys, I guess, they is there any other news in sports that we should be covering that we're not?
Real quick before I go, because I've been kind of wanting to get the feel of the room on all this. We'll get the college football. Yes, there's no offseason in college football, according to my colleague Jock Pate. But you've seen in the news where obviously the whole Iamaliava saga made its way to Arkansas because Madden decided he wanted to go join brother at UCLA, and then Hunter Yurachek is coming out saying basically to the NIL, sick him, because he's trying to get $200,000 of buyout money back from Madden Iamaliava. So now, which I saw an article today where Paul Feinbaum says like this could backfire on Arkansas, like this could be a bad look. But selfishly, I'm kind of glad that Arkansas is doing this. And why, Jason? Why so selfishly do you want this to happen? Or why are you so happy that Arkansas is trying to recoup $200,000 of buyout money from the Iamaliava family? It has nothing to do with Nico or Madden Iamaliava, their camp, and what they do. It is finally going to give me a damn answer to a question that people have asked me, and I have asked myself when we're talking about these contracts. How much now we're going to get the answer of how much legal validity that these contracts are now going to have when it comes to college football, and if in court Arkansas is able to get that money back, this whole wild west of the transfer portal might be stopping in its tracks at least for a little while, which I think a lot of college football fans will probably be rooting for, and totally understandable, because it's like we talked on this podcast before, like when the whole Nico saga began, is that because everybody's talking about getting to sign a contract. What about the contract? Contract this, contract that. And I'm looking here, and many other people in my world are sitting here going, how much legal standing do those contracts have? Or are they just necessary? Because I have heard that, well, there's some standing to it. Then I've heard, oh, they're just nothing but IOUs. And then I've even heard, too, that you have to look at the name, image, and likeness laws within different states, because each state has a different style of NIL law. It's not completely universal, which complicates things even more. So now I would consider myself an armchair lawyer, because my mother always told me when I was a kid, there's probably three things that you could have been. You could have been a sportscaster. You could have been a sportscaster. You could have been an auctioneer, or you could have been a lawyer, because you love to argue. So there's, and I get fascinated by the legal world and the sports and the business side of things. So this one is very compelling to me, and I think it's going to be like the entire college football world is really on watch right now, because they're like, okay, let's see where this takes us. And whatever happens, where does it take the sport? Where does it take the business of college football from here? Because if Arkansas is able to win a legal judgment to recoup that $200,000, then the entire NIL transfer portal world as we know it is going to change, and it may even change for good, because now there's going to be a little bit of accountability when you just go make a willy-nilly decision to come here and then, oh, somebody else offers me better money, I'm going to go over here when the spring window opens up. It could put a little bit of a halt to that, and I'm fascinated to see where this goes.
Now, I don't know how the law works everywhere else. But here in Kentucky, if you and I have an agreement that has terms listed on it, and we both sign it, then a deal is a deal, right? And
Right.
if it,
there's some states where you could just write a contract out on a napkin and it's legally binding.
right. So that's a lot of the South, and that's a lot of the Commonwealth states like Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Kentucky. A deal is a deal, right? And it goes.
Well,
And
I don't think it's going to fly. I don't think it's going to fly where a player can take the money and literally run and go get more money elsewhere.
What's that?
It seems as what they're doing now. Because the thing about it is I think that Madden Mariava may have gotten like $500,000 in his NIL deal, and they're trying to recoup $200,000 of that. Which it wouldn't surprise me if that $200,000 is already gone. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it was already gone. Like, there's not that much, can't see that money again, but could there be a little bit of accountability and a little bit more responsibility? Because right now we haven't heard, I mean, outside of the Jaden Rashada lawsuit with Florida and Billy Napier, from a legal standpoint, the Matthew Sluka at UNLV, that was a saga because of him claiming that UNLV did not pay him as part of his NIL deal, which UNLV was turning around. It's like it was paid to the term, blah, 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 blah. But outside of that, from a legal standpoint, you haven't really heard much about this. It's just, and also I think a lot of it, the donors of these collectives are finally sitting here going like, listen, I'm forking all this money over here, and this guy is just taking it and running to another school without any repercussions whatsoever. That's bullshit. And if I was donating to a collective, say $2-3 million, and there's players that are taking part of my donation, but then entering the transfer portal for more money, and there's no repercussions, and that money is gone, I'm sitting here going, what am I investing in? What am I investing in when it comes to, I mean, it's a crapshoot. It's almost like gambling. It really is. But at the same time, when there's a lot of money at stake when it's like that, eventually you're going to sit here and go, okay, we got to do something about it. We got to put a stop to this because it's not sustainable.
I'd agree with that. You know, take the
If
money and run. It's like
sue the schools should be able to sue them.
But again, the gray area or the area in question is all of the legality, because with the Supreme with all the moves that the Supreme Court has made, which has led us to what we are at right now, from a legal standpoint, how much strength is there for the institutions, for the NIL collective, and even for that matter, which right now it seems like it's in the player's advantage right now. But it comes down to that contract. How will it hold up in a court of law, varying from state to state? And I think that this may be the first salvo that may fire off a few more things, and we're going to have a better idea of what, now we know what's legal and what's not legal. And I don't have to answer that question with, I don't have a damn clue. I may have a damn clue now if this comes to fruition.
And that what will also be answered in that case, if it goes to trial, will be what is the player's real value to the institution. For example, he came in, took the NIL money, and left. Right, you'd have to ask what value did Arkansas receive for what they paid him, and so in a state where it didn't have solid contract laws or made contracts easy to challenge, then you'd have to challenge it on that point if you were Arkansas.
It comes down to that. The contracts, how much can they legally be challenged, and how much can they hold up in court? And I think that's the question. Been the question, because again, we talk about make them sign contracts, make them be employees, do a collective bargaining agreement. I mean, because it comes to that point, outside of Congress getting involved, how do you stop this? And this,
well, see, I didn't see it. You showed me the path, Jason. So the path for Arkansas or any other plaintiff in a suit like this would be that the Supreme Court decision didn't say that it was okay to outright play players. What it said is that they could profit off their name, image, and likeness. So then you can, at the same time, you can get a resolution of what that really means. Does that mean that under that case, since the likeness of I am a liver, right? It's hard for me to pronounce.
I got you.
Yeah. So his likeness, how much did it benefit the University of Arkansas? And what other entities used his likeness? And did they pay him directly? And so forth, because that's the real. So we're going to get to what the real gist of it is, right? I don't believe the Supreme Court ruling said that it's okay to outright for institutions to pay players. I believe it said that they can profit off their name, image, and likeness. And if Arkansas also fights it on those grounds, and that's a point in the trial, then it may redefine the whole thing for everybody.
I like that you went there. I'm going to throw the other wrinkle into it. We talk about the NIL collective and how its addition has kind of muddied the waters a little bit, because when we first saw all of these states passing these name, image, and likeness laws, the understanding was that they are going to be able to sign up for endorsements, profit off their brand, like a local eatery, a local restaurant can go to, and like even Dreamland, for example, Dreamland Barbecue in Tuscaloosa can go, and there's no limit. They could go and give $500,000 to Ryan Williams just to be their spokesperson. That's the way that it was intended. For like YouTube, for TikTok, for all these social media outlets now, to where you can monetize off of your brand. The understanding, which we could have been 100% dead wrong on this, but the understanding was that now they can have their YouTube channel, they can have their TikToks, they can make money off their following, so on and so forth, and the NCAA cannot get in the way. Then in comes the NIL collective, which is just to me, is nothing more than a slush fund where you can just dip your hand in the cookie jar, throw a little money here at this player, this player, this player, this player, this player here, buy them a car. Because I think Utah did that. They bought the entire team pickup trucks one time. So it's like a slush fund to keep them staying in Utah and not entering the portal, because there's no rule that tells them they can't go to the portal. They can go as many times as you want. Now the FCC has done their what I like to call their certain non-compete, where you could transfer to an SEC school, but you would have to sit out a year, and that's the only conference that I know of that does that. So that's the only instance where you have some kind of restriction, but outside of that, there's no restriction. But that's where it gets interesting, because now with the NIL collectives that are coming in, so all of this money, how is it going to hold up in court? Because was the NIL collective intended for the name, image, and likeness laws of the state? That's another question that I'd like to see answered.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any other thoughts on that?
I think we lost Ed.
Did we lose Ed?
I put Ed to sleep.
Yeah.
No, that's not. I heard snoring. That's not me.
Okay. Well, I'm
So-
putting
so-
somebody to sleep.
Sounds like Ed needs a
It's not the first
CPAP.
time. I put a lot of
It
people.
does. Doug fell
No, I'm
asleep.
watching the Knicks game.
I did hear that somebody got a dog. You got a dog, Jason? Do I have one? I know there's dogs roaming around here. That's what I keep
It's
looking at.
Doug.
No, Calvin, Watson, and Kobe are all downstairs, and I installed the baby gate because they can't get upstairs because they're pissing and crapping all over the floor.
Damn it, yeah.
I'm predicting that's Ed.
No, I just heard Ed.
I'm
Is
right
Doug,
here.
No, but Ed
Is
falls
Doug.
asleep quick.
Doug, are you with us? Yep. Well, we were making we heard snoring, and this could be something paranormal or metaphysical. I don't know. We heard snoring, and everybody's denied it, including Ed, right? So
It was definitely not me. I'm wide awake. I'm watching the Knicks game.
Yeah,
God damn it.
I
God
mean,
damn it, Ed.
I am tired, but I'm not asleep.
So Doug is the command of this enterprise, right? He could be adding the snoring in the background. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, but so anyway, guys, I think we had a great show tonight. Ow! Thanks to all of our fans. Like, subscribe, join the groups, follow Jason, myself, Doug, Nikki, Divine, and read his articles. Everything you need to do, click like, subscribe, join, conform to Smacking Off the Podcast. Thank you, everyone, tonight.
Bye.
Later.
Later, y'all.
See ya.
Smacking off the podcast. Fuck your city, top boss. Because sports authorities.
Thank you for supporting Smacking Off the Podcast. Make sure to stream in every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for an all-new live cast.